I had a choice to make in that moment. Am I going to tell my parents what I've really been doing and that I need help? Or am I going to keep going down the path that I'm going down and just shove this down? And in that moment, thank God, I chose to say something.
Welcome back to There Is Always a Way, a special limited series of Hope Comes to Visit. As I celebrate 7 years without alcohol, I'm sitting down with people whose stories remind us that there isn't only one right way to redefine your relationship with alcohol. Every journey is different, every path is personal, and every conversation has something to teach us. Because while no two stories are exactly alike, there is always a way. Today's guest is someone who is incredibly special to me. Before she's a recovery professional, before she's an advocate, she is my friend. One of the things I love most about Erin Smith is that she has this incredible ability to make people feel seen, heard, and safe. She's someone who quietly shows up for others, both personally and professionally, and I don't think that's by accident. It's simply who she is. Erin lives in Kansas City with her new fiance, Michael, and has dedicated both her personal and professional life to helping others find hope in recovery. She serves as the Director of Outreach and Community Relations at Step One Service, a hospital-based acute withdrawal management program specializing in alcohol and opioid withdrawal. Her work brings together science, compassion, creativity, and connection in a way that is uniquely her own. But beyond the titles and accomplishments, Erin is someone in long-term recovery herself, and she understands recovery not only from the professional side, but because she's lived it. While she supports all pathways to recovery, her own life has been profoundly shaped by a 12-step program. I also have to share something she wrote to me when we were preparing for today's conversation because it touched me so deeply. She said that one of her favorite things about Hope Comes to Visit is that when the 4 hours between us feels like a lot, she can listen to the podcast and hear my voice, my storytelling, and the hope these conversations bring, and it makes the miles between us feel just a little bit smaller. I don't know if there's a greater compliment that anybody could give me. Erin, thank you not only for your friendship, but for the work you do every single day and for your willingness to be here with me and share your hope and your story and your love. I'm so glad you're here.
So excited to be here.
Oh, friend, it is such an exquisite joy to have you on here. When I was thinking about doing this limited series, it was easy to know that you were a perfect vision of hope for this.
So honored to be a part of the podcast and also just to be able to share my kind of unique experience with recovery. We always talk about that we're not unique in our struggles when we're in recovery, but my path of getting there was a little bit different. And so I'm really excited to share that. Hopefully it brings hope to one person and that'll be enough for me.
All right. I'm confident it will bring hope to more than one person. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about you first. When you were young a little bit, I know you moved to Kansas City. So let's start there and then let's talk about your path to recovery.
Yeah. So I was born in Pennsylvania. My dad was a pharmacist. He still does some of that work today, but he is retired in the only way he can be, which is not retired at all. And we relocated to Shawnee, Kansas when I was 10 years old. And at first it was fine. I was really excited. I was like a little bit nervous. I thought Kansas was just cows and outhouses and stuff like that. And I was Yeah, I was super excited to find out there's paved roads and indoor plumbing, but I jumped into soccer right away. I got really involved. I was always playing soccer back in Pennsylvania. So it was like, okay, let's join a team. Let's get to school. Let's go back to normal life. But I still didn't know anyone. I felt really out of place. And I joined my teams. I got going. Things were fine for a really long time. Until they weren't. I hurt myself playing soccer. I was very competitive playing soccer, and that was something that I had in my future that I wanted to do long term. I played goalie. It was kind of a niche position, so there wasn't a lot of us. So I got to play on really competitive teams, and it was a lot of fun. But when I got hurt, I didn't know what to do with myself. I completely lost my identity. The physical pain was a lot, but it was more that emotional aspect of like, who am I now? What do I do?
It is hard once you lose your identity, right? And you're in a place where you felt out of place to begin with.
Correct. So I went through schooling. I hung on for dear life, but you know, when I lost my identity, I went from exercising, you know, all the time. When you're on competitive sports, you go to practices every day, you have private trainers, you do all this stuff. You also eat enough food to sustain that energy level. So when I stopped playing, I gained a lot of weight. My brain chemicals were all messed up, didn't know what to do, and wasn't physically active either because I was kind of like stuck just healing from these injuries. And so the combination of these things, I just got really depressed. And that's when I went to see a doctor for the first time that gave me medication. And it was kind of off to the races from there.
Okay. What does that mean, off to the races?
For me, off to the races was I was given a medication for my anxiety that was a benzodiazepine. And I was already feeling so depressed and not like myself that I was drinking a little bit too.
Okay.
And what ended up happening was when I combined these benzos with the alcohol, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel good. Like, I don't feel depressed anymore. I feel like not myself, but maybe a better version of myself. I felt like I could socialize. I could interact with people. I wasn't so stuck in this depression all the time. So I wanted to feel more of that. I went from like having this low dosage of Xanax to taking it as much as I wanted every single day and finding ways to manipulate my doctor to get more. Like, this dose is not helping. I'm feeling anxiety still. And they would just up my dose and up my dose. And so it was, I mean, by the time I was 15, I couldn't tell you now, like, what the amount exactly I was taking, but it was enough for, 2 weeks worth, usually in a day.
At what point did you or the people around you recognize that it was problematic?
I think that I knew the very first time I ever took the Xanax. I knew.
Isn't it amazing how we know?
I did. I knew. But I will say that the other issues going on felt so much bigger than the possibility of, like, maybe I'm addicted to this, that it wasn't an option for me at the time to stop.
I get it.
So it was like my parents were extremely supportive, and that they could see that I was extremely depressed. I was having severe anxiety. It was interfering with school, friends, everything that I liked to do, I stopped doing. So it was obvious to them that there was an issue. And they did everything in their power to get me help. They sent me to therapists and psychiatrists and, acute psychiatric hospitals, everything that was available to an adolescent, which is not quite as robust as for adults. So I think they knew I had a problem, but I think generally as a family, we thought it was, if we can fix this depression and anxiety, that was the issue that was like pressing. It wasn't the substance use. I don't think they knew the extent I was abusing it behind closed doors.
And that makes sense. I mean, we're naturally good at hiding these things, right? Yeah. Because we're protective of what we know we shouldn't be doing. I mean, we hide it well.
Yeah. And it felt like, genuinely, I felt like this is my solution. I've found the cure for all of the things that are wrong. And what I know now, much later in life, is like, nothing was wrong. I was passing through a time period in my life that was difficult. It was new to me. I didn't have the coping skills to manage that kind of change. And so now looking back, I'm like, I could have handled that a little different, but I couldn't at the time. That's all I knew.
Right.
So, yeah.
So at what point did you find recovery?
Well, I had these short, acute psychiatric stays all through high school. I mean, I would go for whether it was 3 days, 7 days, but it was no more than 7 days most of the time. And then before my senior year of high school, so I was 17. I'm a June baby, so I was 17 my whole senior year. I finally went to the same psychiatric hospital, but they admitted me for a more long-term residential stay. Leading up to that, I had this huge, like, overdose in the woods. Thank God I had a friend with me. I very vaguely remember how it actually happened, but I do remember her calling one of our male friends and, like, carrying me out of the woods.
Okay.
And after that, I was like trying to manage the story. I was like, oh no, like my parents don't know where I am. I've been kind of missing all day. Where is she? Type of thing. I was like nervous because I always like tried to maintain this I'm still a good kid thing, even though I knew what I was doing. And to be fair, I was a good kid. I was just struggling.
Right.
But, leading up to that last day, like I finally was admitted to a local hospital, and then they sent me to that facility, and I was there for, I want to say it was Halloween, Thanksgiving, and maybe I got discharged right before Christmas, or it was Christmas. So I was there for quite some time. And by the time I finally discharged and went back to school, there was a lot of people that were like, we thought you were dead. Like, where did you go? There was very few people that knew where I actually was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so was that the beginning of your current sobriety?
That was the beginning of my abstinence.
Okay.
And
I love how you make the distinction.
Yeah, I do want to make that distinction, and I will add the caveat that I believe that abstinence is a form of recovery, and if you're not using the substances that were affecting your life, I'm rooting for you. For me, I stopped using the drugs. I went to college. I did all the things that you do after high school.
Mm-hmm.
And my life kept going down and down and down, even though I stopped using the drugs. So
you weren't using drugs or alcohol?
No, I was just living my life, holding on, clinging for dear life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then at what point did you move from abstinence to a place that you consider being in recovery or starting to thrive?
Yeah. So in my early college days, of course, like most people that age are just getting started. Like they're just drinking for the first time, or maybe trying marijuana or doing some other things. But I already knew I was an addict and I could not do those things. So I would do these different crazy things. I would like sprint so the Kansas City Art Institute is like positioned right near the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, and my apartment was on Warwick Boulevard, and I would just run sprints up and down the street, like just anything to like change how I felt in that moment, because like I couldn't go to the parties, I couldn't hang out in the dorm rooms and like get drunk with everyone. So I was like finding these ways to change how I felt, basically. And
you were incredibly young when you started down this path, which makes it even more challenging because you are in an environment that is, for lack of a better word, promoting alcohol and exploring that world.
Yeah. And I will say, like, art school was a notch above. Like, you hear about like sororities and fraternities and all these things at traditional universities, but at art school, it was even more encouraged because of the creativity element.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like really not a good place for me. But all of that to say, I basically avoided any triggers. I would like stay in my apartment. I would like spend hours in the studio. I would do whatever I could just to stay on the horse, basically.
Okay.
And my behaviors and how I felt about myself didn't change, though, on the inside. Like,
Okay. So how did you hang on?
I just like avoided. I just avoided for so long, and I got into relationships, and I did do some positive things. I tried to read self-help books, and I would, spend hours in the studio trying to be the best student I could be. I ended up having like a 3.8 GPA, which in high school, like I think I had a 2.4.
Okay.
So I dove into these other things to kind of distract myself from what was going on the inside.
So at what point did things change for you? At what point did you turn a corner where you felt like, I am thriving in this place without substances in my life, instead of just hanging on for dear life?
So it took another rock bottom before I got to that point,
Okay.
without the drugs. And so what happened was, when I was using these other things to make me feel better, I got into a relationship that was not great. He was verbally abusive and would bring people into our home when I wasn't there, and just, there was a lot of manipulation and abuse, I'll just say that. And I kind of reached this point where I wasn't sure how I was going to continue not using. Like, the only thing I really knew was to use to make those feelings less intense.
Right.
And so I was actually, at that point, I had transferred to UMKC, where I studied psychology. And I was in a psychology class giving a presentation. And one of the girls in my class after was like, "You sound like you're in recovery." And I was like, "Well, I am." And she was like, "Have you ever gone to this meeting?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. I've been to a few meetings before, but I haven't been to that one." And I was kind of at this place where I felt so alone. That person and that relationship had kind of isolated me from all my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I ended up doing was going to that meeting that this girl in my class recommended. And I walked in, I got a hug, and that hug, that first hug, it makes me so emotional.
Oh, baby.
Just to feel loved by someone that understands, that had never met me before,
Right.
And so that was the turning point, the first one, that I entered into the beginning to thrive in recovery phase. I wouldn't say I was thriving yet, but it opened the door.
Okay.
And so after that, I actually got that woman's phone number, and I was supposed to meet her the next day. I was going to talk to her about, would she be my sponsor? Could we work steps? All those things that you do in the 12-step program. And when we were supposed to meet, she actually was on her way to pick me up. And I was like, if I get out of this bed, I am going to kill myself. I was so mentally ill, even without the substances. And so she did the right thing. She called my parents. We got me into a psychiatric hospital. I was there for a week. And after that, I started regularly attending 12-step meetings. And that's when I started feeling a lot better.
What is it, do you think? One of the purposes of doing this series, right? And the reason that I created the app, the Redefining Sober app, is because I believe that there's always a way, right? There is always a path. And for so many people, it's different. For some, it is a 12-step, but for some, it's not, right?
Yeah.
And I would never discourage anyone from going or not going, because I think it's so important to figure out what works. My experience with 12-step was good initially and then turned out not to be as positive for a number of reasons. But I love how beautiful it is for you, right? Yeah. So what is it about the 12-step program that has been a core factor in your recovery?
The biggest thing is the community. There's all these different ways that you can have community, whether you're in recovery or not. And for me, like being on an adult sports recreational team was kind of out of the question. I couldn't do it with my knee situation. Mm-hmm. And in college, I was avoiding everyone because they were using. So for me, for those 5 years before I came to the 12-step group, I was just basically isolated. And so for me, it was the community, but also it was this idea of, and this is maybe controversial for some people, but that we're never cured. That was the important thing for me, because I know how my addiction took me to such a low place, especially mentally, with only using for 3.5, 4 years and not even being 18 yet. And so for me, this idea of this is an ongoing, lifelong disease, not a moral failure or deficiency, but a disease that can be treated through community, one-on-one personal relationship with another woman that walks me through the steps, a relationship with a higher power. These are things that I just didn't have in my life. So you add all of those in and suddenly my life is full and robust and beautiful.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
Because you've definitely had some bumps, right? You've had some bumps and some challenges and some heartaches.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you're willing to talk about those. We can, if you'd like.
I'm an open book.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the last couple of years, and how your ups and downs have led you to the high where you are right now.
Yeah. So I get into recovery, truly for me, which was engaging in this 12-step process. And I met a person that I dated for 4.5 years, maybe 5, basically ever since I came to the program. And what I'll say about that relationship is that I didn't love myself enough yet to see that the way I was being treated was not right. And I was okay with it at the time. I was happy. I truly loved this person and was happy. And so I didn't see some of the things that were not right. And so along this process, another experience that I had in the program was that I had a misunderstanding with another member, and we kind of bumped heads on that situation, and it turned into a everyone against Erin situation, and it was really painful, super, super painful. And I was kind of I made all these friends in the program, and then I didn't have them again. And so I went from, I finally found my solution, to, oh my gosh, I'm all alone again. And fortunately, there's always hope on the other side of these things. This is the beautiful thing about the program, is we meet people in there that have these little nuggets of things that we want in our life. And I met someone in the program that had this deep relationship with God. And So I called him and I said, what is it that you do? Because I want to die again. And I did not come to this program and work so hard to feel like this again. And he actually introduced me to this completely separate thing that is more of a religious thing. And I found God again there. And that was kind of like this anchor point of, okay, I still have my seat in this program. No one can run me out. God loves me. And so I kept on. But while I kept on, I stayed in that relationship. Now, in that relationship, I unfortunately had a miscarriage. That was very painful. One of my biggest desires in life has always been to be a parent. And I mean, it was horrifying. But a few months after that, I found out that the person I was with was also cheating on me the whole relationship. Many of the women were people I was close with in the program or somehow related to. And so it was just this huge explosion of heartbreak back to back. And I wouldn't change any of it. Like, honestly, today I would not change any of it because, to your point, how did we get where I am today? I passed through all of those things. And through that relationship, I learned what I actually deserve, what I really want for my life. I also learned that I'm okay no matter what. There are days where I'm not going to feel okay, but that I am okay, if that makes sense. And so today, I spent, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, like after that relationship, just like really praying a lot. Like I might have gone a little Jesus crazy, but it's okay. I would just sit on my porch every night, just like reading my Bible. This is when I still lived on my own and in my own apartment with my cats. And I would just read and write and pray and cry and worship music, all this stuff. And one day I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Michael. How did I never see this before? He's right there. And here we are today. So.
And you are newly engaged.
Newly engaged.
Congratulations. I love it. This makes my heart so full for you. It's obviously you and I have known each other for quite some time. And so as I'm listening to you recount, I've been with you through a lot of this. And for people who question different parts of programs and different ways to enter recovery, I want to ask you a question that I know sometimes people ask, and that is one that I ruminate on. So you were recounting some of your experiences in the 12-step program and in terms of feeling isolated within the program with people turning on you. And you also mentioned that being in this relationship and finding out he was cheating on you. And it turned out that he was cheating on you with some people you knew that were also in the program. How do you stay anchored in a program, in a community, when you occasionally feel betrayed by some of those people in that community?
That's a really good question. And truthfully, I have to remember that I can trust the program, even if I can't always trust the people. And to me, that's like a sentiment that holds true of any recovery community you're in, or any like friend group you're in, or anything. Like the process, God is always moving me through the process. And I had to remember, even though I couldn't remember the whole day, but I had to think back to that day when my friend was carrying me out of the woods. And that this one person that has their own disease that they are wrestling with, that it had nothing to do with me. That's what I had to realize, is none of these girls that were involved, not even the guy that was involved, none of this had to do with me. It had to do with their own things going on, just like I've done things in my recovery that I'm not proud of. And so you get these moments where you're like, yeah, this sucks. I don't trust these people. I don't trust this group. I don't trust X, Y, and Z. But I know that the alternative, and this is real, the alternative for me is death. And I don't want that. I don't want my parents to go through that. I don't want to lose anything that I have in my life today. And so for me, it was like an ego check of like, this is what I have to do. People come and go. I'm not going to be one of them. I'm not going to be the one that gets run out. This is the place that I recover. And all of these external things that happen in here are not the program. That is people with the disease, just like I have, living their lives. And it happens to be that they're in the program too.
What would you say to someone who is on the fence right now? They are, I wonder if I have a problem. I'm not sure if I do. Ooh, what should I do about it?
Well, I have 2 tracks on that. I have a professional track and a personal track. I'll go with the personal one. My personal belief on that is to start by talking to someone. The thing that almost derailed me was that day that I got carried out of the woods. And the next day I was like, I need help. I had a choice to make in that moment. Am I going to tell my parents what I've really been doing and that I need help? Or am I going to keep going down the path that I'm going down and just shove this down? And in that moment, thank God, I chose to say something. So my answer for that is just find that one person that you can tell that you're struggling. And that usually opens the door for, okay, now there's one person that knows. I'm not completely alone with it. What do we do next? Because 2 heads together is better than 1.
You're so good. Tell me about working in this space. Like, you, not only do you have this lived experience, but this is your heart work to go out and touch and love on and connect with people who are living the same way you have lived.
Yeah, so with work, there are many different things that I've done in the substance use treatment field. And I think where I've landed today is that I'm able to use my creative abilities by doing content creation for our company and by helping our employees come up with their outreach strategies. Those are skills that I learned through other positions. But the thing that is most meaningful to me is what happened 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I got a phone call from someone that had connected with someone else that I have worked with in this industry because she got my number from her. And she called and she was like, hey, this is what's going on with my daughter. What do I do? And to me, like, even though that's not my day-to-day anymore, I'm more in an operations kind of situation now, I still get those calls and I still feel that pull in my spirit of like, you're in the right place. You're helping someone help someone, even if I'm not the person directly helping anymore.
You are so good at this, sweet girl. Everything about your heart is so incredible. And having known you for the years that I've known you, it's been remarkable to me to witness your evolution. It's remarkable to me to have known the version of you who was in the relationship where you didn't see yourself as others did. And I've been there too, right? You're in a relationship where you think that this is all you deserve, that the way you're being treated is how you deserve to be treated. because you just don't see yourself as worthy yet. And you have to work through all of that. And then you get to a place where you start working through it and you build. Your challenges hurt and they ache, and you build. And the number of times I've seen you fall and get back up and use those experiences to spread love and more recovery and more heart and more goodness. You're an inspiration.
I appreciate that, but I will say I learned that from people like you. I mean, I remember after the miscarriage, it's like everyone around me was like, there's a reason this is happening. God has a bigger plan. All of those things were true. Don't get me wrong. But when it was happening, that is not what I needed to hear. But what I did need to hear was you calling and saying, how can I show up for you? What do you need? How can I be here? And that's it. You said, I remember you very clearly saying, I'll just listen if you need me to. Like, I'll just sit here on the phone. And so I try to do that today. I try to be more like you. And I think that's really important in recovery, is to have people. I say this all the time to the women I sponsor. I'm like, you need people ahead of you on the journey, whether it's in life or in recovery. You need people right by your side that maybe got into recovery at the same time, or maybe they're around your age. And then you need people behind you a little so that you can guide them. And I feel really blessed that I have you in my life, the women I sponsor in my life, the people that are brand new to recovery in my life, and we all just do this thing together. It doesn't matter if we all do it the same way. What matters is that we show up in the way that we can. And you've done that for me, and you've taught me how to be a friend.
Oh, good heavens. You're going to make me cry. I love you so much. Thank you for that. You're such a good heart friend, and I'm so incredibly grateful for you. I think about how important it is to, it's kind of like in grief, in recovery, I feel as though, and this is one of the examples, and I've written about this and I'm going to write about it more. It's kind of like going through a storm, right? And you pull over because you're at a point where you're driving and you can't see. And you have to pull over because the storm is so intense in front of you, and your windshield wipers aren't showing, like they're not doing enough. And you pull over to the side of the road, and then all of a sudden someone else goes by and you think, oh, wait, no, I can follow them because there's taillights in front of you.
Exactly.
And you think like, okay, I can make it. I can make it. Someone else is doing it. And this is the lived experience and the heart that you're putting out there that shows people that it's possible. And this is the work that I hope to do with the podcast and what I'm trying to do with the app, right? In terms of putting Redefining Sober out there in the world, my goal is compassion and connection and letting people know that there is always a way, right? It's just a matter of finding your way, and the way that says, okay, I'm questioning. Am I drinking too much? Am I doing something that isn't a fit for me? And whenever we start to think that, right, the answer is always yes. If I'm saying to myself, I wonder if I'm staying up too late. I wonder if I'm shopping too much. I wonder if I'm snacking too late at night. I wonder if I'm not exercising enough. When your system asks those questions, the answer is always yes. So when you have a point where you say like, oh, I wonder if I'm drinking too much, you know that the answer is yes. What are you going to do about it? So my goal with the app is to say, okay, let me walk with you. And my hope is that the app can be a personalized guide that's helping people to be seen and understood and loved. So I'm so grateful that you do the work you do. How do you define hope, Erin?
I define hope as just, it sounds so silly, but just grabbing that one thing in front of you, like the headlights, and just holding on for dear life, because on the other side of whatever situation feels like it's going to end you, you can always see in hindsight how the plan was meant to be the whole time. So for me today, hope is knowing I've survived 100% of the things. And so when I feel a lack of hope, I can look at my own life now and be like, oh no, we're getting through this. So for me, like, simply put, hope is holding on until the storm passes.
You are extraordinary. Where can people find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn with 10,000 other Erin Smiths. So you may find me with a different last name in a few months. So that might be easier. But what I would really like to encourage people to do is to find the spirit of me by looking at the links in the show notes that go to the 12-step fellowships and also the family support links, which are to Al-Anon and Nar-Anon. It's really important to understand that addiction, alcoholism, they are family diseases. And it's not a disease that just affects the individual. It affects everyone around you. So you can follow those links, or you can go to our Step 1 service website, where I'm always on the other end of those emails and phone calls. So that's where you can find me. And I just want to add, the app is the most incredible thing, because one of the things that I really want people to understand is that you can enter recovery at any point of your life. I thought, because I was so young, that recovery wasn't for me. When I got to the 12-step rooms, I had never been to jail. I had never put a needle in my arm. I had never done X, Y, and Z things that, people expect when you go to those programs. And I wish I had that app, because the way that your app is structured is to have it in your pocket, but it's for any phase of recovery too. And I think that's something new and different that's not out there right now. A lot of recovery-based programs and apps are about, how do we get you sober right now? It doesn't cater to the person maybe like me that's been in it for a while and is struggling with that relationship, or I don't feel like I'm thriving in recovery. So your app covers the whole gamut of everything that people need in recovery to thrive. And so if you want to find me, go find Danielle, because the spirit is in the app, and I want everyone to have the app. It's going to be a great tool.
Oh, friend, you are so, so good to me. I am virtually like hugging you. So thank you. Thank you for being such a love and such an incredible support. And I cannot express my gratitude enough for you being here and sharing your heart and your love, and God, being vulnerable with your story. I know that your hope and your story will touch so many people and will encourage people to reach out. And that, to me, is the biggest piece of hope there is.
That's the one goal I always have, is just be honest with someone. If I can be honest, and Danielle can be honest, and the next person can be honest, that should give you just a speck of hope that maybe if I'm honest, someone will listen, someone will hear me, and I can actually start feeling better. We don't have to look at, I want to have 10 years of recovery right now. We just have to look at today. What step can I do today that will make me feel a little bit better than yesterday? So I hope that someone listening feels some kind of courage to just reach out to one person you love and trust to take the next step. And if they don't know, there's a million resources that we can link. There's findtreatment.gov. You can just make a Google search and say, I need treatment near me, and just start calling people. It can get frustrating, but there's going to be the right person on the other end of one of those calls to get you help. So
I love that. And I love you. I'm so grateful for you.
I love you.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us on this special episode, limited series of There's Always a Way from Hope Comes to Visit. I am so grateful that you spent time with me and with Erin, and I am 100% sure that her story inspires some level of love and hope in you, and I hope that you will share it with someone else. Pass the episode on. And I also would like to share with you the app ReDefining Sober is out. You can find it at studio.com/Danielle. It will be linked in the show notes. And you will go through a bit of an onboarding that takes you through the specialized version so that you can have the app catered specifically to you. Whether you are just questioning your relationship with alcohol, whether you know that you would like to stop drinking, or if, as Erin mentioned, you've already stopped and you're wondering how to thrive in a world without substances. So I'd love for you to take a look, and I'm always here to help. And until we spend time together again, take very good care of you. If you've been joining us on Hope Comes to Visit for a while, you've probably noticed that many of our conversations come back to the same themes: self-awareness, healing, growth, resilience, and finding our way back to ourselves. That's exactly why I created ReDefining Sober, initially as a coaching program for women who wanted to redefine their relationship with alcohol, and now I'm excited to share as an app. ReDefining Sober is a guided app for women who want to explore, question, or change their relationship with alcohol in a way that feels supportive, compassionate, and free from shame or rigid rules. Through personalized reflections, guided exercises, meditations, videos, and AI-powered support, the app meets you where you are and helps you build self-trust, reconnect with yourself, and create meaningful change. Whether you're sober curious, actively making changes, or already alcohol-free, you'll find tools, encouragement, and support designed just for you. To learn more, visit redefiningsober.com to get started.